They're getting rid of Job Corps because no one's joining the military. And rightfully so. Like, who the fuck actually wants to go and fight for a country that's not fighting for them? At this point specifically in time in America. Like, that's just not what people want to do. And I feel like initially they got rid of DEI because they thought it was going to make a bigger splash and it was going to affect a certain amount of, marginalized groups. But it didn't actually do that. And it affected other people. And so now their next effort is like, oh, well, we'll just get rid of Job Corps because that actually is something that benefits, marginalized groups and is helping them. And so in doing that, I don't know if they're thinking like, oh, if we get rid of this, well, now these people will think that they have to join the military and fight for this country that's not fighting for them. But like, I just don't see people joining the military, especially with the knowing that this country doesn't really give a fuck about what is going on in their lives. And like, the country is not fighting for them at all. So then what would be the point of that? Because even if they did a draft, it would still be like, well, we're not going to go. And then what is the government going to do? Say that everyone is now a prisoner because they decided not to get drafted into wars? Like, and okay, if everyone's now in prison because they didn't want to go fight for the war, then you still have no soldiers. So like, this is just not a smart decision on their end. Like, were they even thinking? Like, it doesn't even make any sense. That's crazy.
Why are the Republicans shutting down Job Corps? Like, if you don't know what Job Corps is, it's something that, like, high school dropouts and young kids who, don't go to college can go to Job Corps and get trade trainings. Like, you can learn to work construction, you can learn to be an electrician, a plumber, those kinds of things in Job Corps. Like, you'd think these would be the kind of things that Republicans would be for. It's the trades. It's not even college. And it helps millions of kids. Like, of course, that's why they want to, destroy it, because it helps millions of kids. But I just heard Job Corps shutting down on Friday. And a lot of these people are like kids who went through the foster system and turned 18 and didn't have anywhere to go. So they went to Job Corps so at least they could like learn a trade or something. And now they're not going to have anything. They're going to get kicked out of Job Corps probably before they get their degrees or whatever, or their certificates of their training. And they're not going to have anywhere to go. They're going to be homeless. Like, this administration is just fucking evil. Like, of all the shit our tax money goes to, why the fuck are you cutting this? And spending $300 million so Trump can go golf?
Yesterday, it was almost like a massacre. It was tears. It was just sorrow.
The issue, the problem that we're facing is that many students don't have a home of record. They have nowhere to go. We have family and children's here. We are reaching out to Grand, Counseling Recovery. We're reaching out to Dream Center, Tulsa Boys Home, Tulsa Girls Home. We need help.
I've been hearing, that Job Corps is where bad kids go and it's where all the trouble kids go. That's not true. There are a lot of good people here.
I would say for our lawmakers, you guys need to get on the ground and get back in touch with the community. It's easy to sign a piece of paper and walk away and not see the devastation. It's here. It's real. Don't shut the door! We need Job Corps!
What do you say to a student who had nothing that came here for not just housing, not just food, but to have a future, and now just for it to all be shut down?
One of those students is Alpharetta Wigley's grandson. She left her daughter's hospital bedside to come pick him up.
We can't afford it. His mama is fighting cancer right now. My daughter is in there right now. I was at the hospital with my daughter. He called me, come and pick him up. I don't know what to do.
She says her grandson had stayed on the right path, committed to building a future.
It hurts me because all he do is go to school and try to, learn and try to get a career so he can get a scholarship so he can get a good job.
Inez Dickerson dropped her granddaughter off just 3 weeks ago with hopes of her becoming a nurse. Now she says her granddaughter may have to find a job instead of pursuing that dream.
I don't understand that. This is what they need.
Her granddaughter was just months away from moving to a nursing program.
No, they don't have a nursing school here. Once she had finished this school for 6 months, they was going to send her out of town for the schooling for nursing. So now I don't know what she going to do.
So if y'all thought the kids was wild, oh, the schools ain't doing nothing, that's one thing. The quote-unquote wine epidemic is getting bad, that's another thing. They're shutting down Job Corps. I genuinely believe Job Corps was one of the one stops off of the school to prison pipeline that has been beating not even just out of black people, by the way, out of just any non-wealthy community. The school to prison pipeline is beating the shit out of any non-affluent community, and they just took one of the main stops out of commission. It is not about helping people. It is not about the greater good of the country. It simply cannot.
So someone said, you don't have Google? Of course I have Google. The reports are out. What's so funny is it wasn't Trump who released this report. It was actually Job Corps. Job Corps released the fiscal report. There's also one online for the fiscal year of 2017, 18, and 19 for people who are saying, well, look at pre-COVID. So looking at the fiscal year report for 2017, 18, and 19, okay? On the report for Job Corps, it says Job Corps defines graduates as students who have been enrolled for 60 or more days, completed career technical training, and or obtain a high school diploma or equivalency, so the GED, and have not separated due to a violation of the zero tolerance policy. The count of graduates includes all students who separated in fiscal year 2019, regardless of when they enrolled, who met the graduate definition. A total of 14,878 students graduated from Job Corps in fiscal year 2019, representing 45.2% of all students, 49.1% in 2018, and 55.4% in 2017. There were more people who separated from the program for whatever reason, okay, in all 3 of those years. More people who were separated, meaning that they didn't stay for longer than 60 days. And they still had to pay $49,000 per pop per head, okay? And it says here in the fiscal report that it continued to increase in 2018 from 2019. So for somebody who said, you ain't got Google? Yeah, I got Google. All right, let's go further. It says, for the graduates who entered a job or the military during the fiscal year of 2019, their average wage was $12.73. An increase from the fiscal year of 2018 and fiscal year 2017, average wages of $11.97 and $11.61. Of those employed at 6 months after the initial placement, based on the calculated proxy measure described in Appendix A, Section 1, their average wage was $14.84 as compared to the fiscal year 2018 result of $13.67. All right, let's go further. Job Corps cost per enrollee, which is calculated as the ratio of the total budget to the number of new enrollments during fiscal year 2019, is $44,001 as compared to the fiscal year cost per enrollee of $832 in fiscal year 2018. And in 2017, the cost per enrollee was $34,301. The cost per graduate calculated as the ratio of the total budget to the number of graduates is $96,000 as compared to the 2018 fiscal year, which costs a graduate $67,000, or that's a cost per graduate. And in 2017, cost per graduate is $57,000. So you're paying $44,000 just for them to enroll. Then you're paying $96,000 if they make it to graduation. And majority of these people who graduate are making about $15 an hour. That's crazy. And for those people who wanted to see where I was reading, here you go. For people who were saying, you don't got Google. Of course I have Google. So do some research. The program is failed. How about creating a program that works? That's all I'm saying. So you could be mad at it, but either way, it's done for.
My last lunch at Job Corps, This will be, this is beef stew with potatoes and bell peppers, rice, and mixed vegetables. Lemonade with lemon slices. My salad contains chickpeas, cranberries, cheese, and onions. Of course, lettuce and croutons, Thousand Island dressing. Yeah.
A lot of y'all seem to feel like the government is supposed to run like a business, and it's not. I completely get the idea that, we can't spend so much money that we can't run it anymore, that there's no more country to run. But this idea that we don't have the money to take care of problems, or this idea that we can't afford to keep Job Corps open because it's fiscally unsound, it's a blatant lie. In 2024, we spent $997 billion with a B billion dollars on our military. The 25 largest police and sheriff departments in our nation spent over $3.2 billion with a B, paying out over 40,000 wrongful action settlements. We'll say wrongful action settlements. And so if it's really about being fiscally sound or fiscally responsible, especially when it comes to running a country like a business owners are supposed to understand the concept of an investment. You invest in things being better. You don't just shut them down after undermining them and saying that they're a failure. Governments can always stand to improve, be better, be more efficient. That's where capitalism and running a government have a parallel, because in capitalism, it's always about getting better, moving to that next thing, improving upon a product, being able to get to that next mass audience. That is not how you're supposed to run a government. Businesses are supposed to chase profit. The government is supposed to be chasing the public good. It's the entire... See, and this is why people don't care about voting, because when you feel like that's not the case, it's what's the point? But that's why you're supposed to be voting. Businesses chase profit. The government should be chasing the public good. They convinced a bunch of people that the government needs to be operating like a business and chasing profit, to the extent that we just kick thousands of homeless teens out trying to get their GEDs. What businesses like Amazon do when times are tough, they lay off people so that the CEO can get the same check, right? And so what? We just cut Job Corps, we cut AmeriCorps, Pell Grants are out the picture. And why? Because I guarantee you don't see an extra dollar because of it. We've unfortunately put in a government that, instead of working for us, the taxpayer, like they should, has convinced the taxpayer that we should be working for them. It's a problem. And that is wholeheartedly why I think
heartbreaking seeing videos of teenagers crying because they have nowhere to go now that Job Corps is being shut down. A lot of them are going to be homeless. When Trump was elected, the prison stock rose. I wonder why. These kids are going to be in survival mode. They are going to do whatever to survive. A lot of them are going to fill up the prisons. And that's what they're banking on. Why? Because there's free labor. And if they're not going to prison, they will be going to the military, which is what they are counting on also, because the military numbers are extremely low. This moment, I feel like we need to be coming together for these kids. A lot of times we'll see a problem. Let's just create the solution. So yesterday, I paid for tutoring for a child in South Memphis because I wanted her to advance in her education. So instead of just talking about something, let's actually be doers. There are so many people that have such a big platform. Let's come together and let's create safety nets for these children, because a lot of them have literally nowhere to go. And that's not okay at all. So especially if you have a Job Corps in your city, let's plan what we can do to help these kids out so they don't feel like they are alone in this situation, and they know that they have a village behind them.
So I just scrolled across a video of a girl showing her last sad meal at Job Corps, and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know anything about what was going on with Job Corps. I look in the comments, everybody's talking about how Job Corps has saved so many lives. Job Corps has made such great impact on our country. So many students, so many young people have benefited from Job Corps. And they were talking about how Trump hates the poor, and that's why he closed down Job Corps. Now, I've been a professional educator for 15 years, and I have seen a lot. And I will say, in all the years that I was in education, especially working with high-risk, at-risk youth, there have been very few that I have seen go into and come out of Job Corps benefiting. But that's me personally. So I did my research, because that's what I encourage you all to do. as opposed to getting your news from social media and people's feelings. So here are the facts. The Job Corps program has faced significant financial challenges under its current operating structure. In PY 2024, the program operated at a $140 million deficit. You see how that says 2024? Requiring the Biden administration to implement a pause in center operations to complete the program year. The deficit is projected to reach $213 million in PY 2025. On April 25th, 2025, the Department's Employment and Training Administration released the first ever Job Corps Transparency Report, which analyzed the financial performance and operational costs of the most recently available metrics of program year 2023. Here's the summary of the findings. The average graduation rate is less than 39%, okay? The average cost per student per year, when 61% of them are not even graduating, is $80,000. That's what it's costing us, the United States taxpayer, $80,000, over $80,000 per student, when only 39%, less than 39% of them are actually completing the program. The average cost per graduate is a whopping $156,000, okay? Post-separation participants earn, so that means whether you graduated or you dropped out, their average annual earnings is less than $17,000 a year. They're still living under the federal poverty line. The total number of serious incident reports for 2023 was almost 15,000 infractions. Inappropriate sexual behavior and sexual assault reports, 372. Acts of violence reported, almost 1,800. Breaches of safety or security, almost 1,200. Reported drug use, almost 2,300. Total hospital visits, 1,800, over 1,800. So tell me, do you actually care about these kids? Do you care about these young people? Or are you just looking for another reason to attack your president and his administration? The amount of money that we hardworking taxpayers are putting toward less than 40% completion, graduation at Job Corps, the cost to send these students, these young people, to this program for them to fight, for them to commit sexual crimes against one another, for them to do drugs. Our money could better be applied elsewhere. Y'all would love to believe that all of our money is just going to go to the billionaires and make them even more rich, which is just weird. It's a weird belief to hold in your head. But there are many other places that our money could go. We could get creative with what to do with our tax dollars instead of burning them in programs like Job Corps that are proven unsuccessful.
You're saying Job Corps has a 38.6% graduation rate, so it's a waste of money? The average community college has a graduation rate of like 34% over 3 years and 28% over 4 years. Mind you, these are institutions that offer 2-year degrees. So Job Corps was cheaper, more effective, and more accessible than your average community college, especially to like a homeless teen. Tell me again how it's a waste of money. Because you got a flag in your bio I think we've been wasting a lot more money on if you just want to really get into.
Oh, Luis, what are we doing?
We're packing up to leave Job Corps because the government is shutting us down.
Unfortunately so. I've already packed up all my stuff, so.
Yep. Can't you wait to live under a bridge to Kendrick?